Okay, let's just discuss routes. What is routing in Laravel? In anything in general frameworks, routing is basically a lot of fun. For example, it's an entry point for your application. If you set a route for home, you need to set a route for home, and then you can visit it in your URL for URL or URI, right? Basically, it's an entry point and for your URLs to manage your URLs, and it's a pattern route. So if I just go to my, don't save it, if I just go to my application and then inside routes and then web.php, we just have API routes, channels, console, and then web route, right? If you just open web.php and then get rid of all this stuff and open it from PHP tag, and if I say route get, and I can also use the get, the post, the post method for posting data, and then delete for deleting data, and put for edit, right? And directly calling a view, and then resource. For example, you want to create a resourceful controller that we'll be discussing in our next series. You can basically create these type of routes, but we'll just start from get. So if we say get to home, or you want to about, or you want to your services, or you want to go to your contact page, and then simply there are two ways. You can also pass a controller here. For example, in the next series we'll be creating a controller, and then we can call which method of our controller, right? And we can simply, for now, we'll just pass a closure and then say echo hello from contact page. So if you just save and visit the contact page, there we go. And we can do many things. Let's say, for example, we have a user, okay, and we can say the ID of the user, right? For example, a user, and which ID you want to go to user, for example, and then we will pass ID here, and let's just echo ID here. So if you just go to our URL and then ID, if we write ID1 or ID2, something like that, it works, right? So we can also pass, let's say, for example, a user ID. For example, a user ID2 has posts, and we can also track the post ID. For example, in our case, this is post ID, and then we can pass a variable called post ID. Concatenate and then post ID. So if we just say post and then the ID, for example, this in our case might be this 4. There we go, it's working. And we can also make it optional. Let's say, for example, we can also make it optional parameter. So if I just put question mark here and then make it null. So if I just get rid of these and reload the page, it works, right? So this is so if we just remove it, there we go, it basically works, right, without ID. There we go, right? So this is an introduction to routes. And again, a route is basically an entry point for application. We can just set, it's just pattern simply, and this is the facade, and you can just pass your URL and then visit in your browser, right? And this is very powerful and simple.